Welcome to the Tyranny of Hope, where we bridge the gap between therapy and everyday life. I'm West Breedlove, your host, and this podcast is all about putting therapeutic concepts into practice. Each episode, we'll tackle real-world challenges, from setting boundaries to healing trauma, from mending relationships to overcoming addictions. You'll hear from counselors and learn practical strategies you can use right away. So whether you're in therapy or just focused on personal growth, you're in the right place. Let's turn hope into action and make real progress together. This is the Tyranny of Hope. Today we're going to dive into a fascinating and often misunderstood psychological phenomenon called limerence. Now, I'm on my back porch, and you'll be hearing some birds, and I'm actually also with my coffee and my pipe, smoking Peterson's of Dublin Irish cask. Very tasty tobacco. So if you hear me puffing, that's what that is, and if you hear dogs or birds, that's why. They are in my backyard, making their presence known. So today, limerence. What is it? You might not have heard of this word, but very important, very misunderstood. It has a lot to do with what's happening in the brain in a relationship with someone else. So let's dive in. What is limerence? Limerence is a state of intense romantic attraction characterized by intrusive and obsessive thoughts about the object of one's affection. So it's a state of immense and intense romantic attraction characterized by intrusive and obsessive thoughts about the object of one's affection. It was first described by a psychologist, Dorothy Tennov, Tenov, in her 1979 book, Love and Limerence. And these are the key features that she describes and defines limerence. One, intrusive thinking about the limerent object, which we can call the LO. People don't like that term. Limerence object, because why? Well, you're objectifying this person. But as we'll see in a little bit, this is exactly what limerence is. You're objectifying this person. Two. So one, intrusive thinking about the limerent object, the LO, limerent object. Two, acute longing for reciprocation. Hang on. Good pipe. Acute longing for reciprocation. 3. Mood swings based on perceived reciprocation. Okay, your mood swinging because, oh my gosh, this guy or this girl giving what I'm, giving back what I'm giving toward them. 4. Inability to feel attraction to others. Think about that. Can you feel attracted to your spouse? Can you feel attracted to anybody else? Or is this person just taking up everything in your mind? 5, physical symptoms like heart palpitations when you are around that person, the LO, the limerence object. Something somatic, something physical, something going on in your body. Your body is getting aroused when you are around that person. So, intrusive thinking about that person, the limerent object. 2, acute longing for reciprocation. 3, mood swings based on perceived reciprocation. 4, inability to feel attraction to others. 5, physical symptoms when you're around them. So let's go and look into what's going on scientifically behind this. What's happening in the brain? Because limerence is Limerence isn't just like this poetic description of falling in love. There's a fascinating biological basis for it, right? This isn't just love. This is limerence. This is when you are experiencing limerence, your brain is undergoing significant changes in neural activity and neurochemistry. And we're going to dive deeper here into what is this science, what's going on biologically in your brain in this huge, intense rush, this state. One, your neurotransmitters and hormones. These are all the dopamine, the norepinephrine, and others. What's going on with your dopamine? Dopamine is the reward chemical, right? Dopamine is playing a huge role in limerence. Your brain's reward system, all these areas in your brain are like charged. There's a huge rush of pleasure and a craving for more interaction with this LO, this limerent object. This is why it's so addictive, right? It's very similar to what happens when someone is taking a drug. This dopamine is kicked into high gear. Norepinephrine. This hormone increases alertness and is responsible for the racing heart, the sweaty palms, which someone often is going to feel when they see this LO, this limerent object. And it's part of the body's the fight or flight response. And that's what's contributing to that heightened energy, the sleeplessness that's common in limerence. People are just not able to kind of get this person and this feeling, this response in their body off their mind. They can't stop. Serotonin. Interestingly, serotonin levels are going to decrease during limerence. And this drop is similar to what's observed in OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, which could explain the obsessive thinking patterns that someone is feeling in limerence. You know, you cannot get this person off your mind. You are literally obsessed. So interestingly here in the OCD comment, a study by Donatella Marazzetti found that serotonin levels in people experiencing limerence were definitely comparable to those with OCD. All right, so what else? Oxytocin and vasopressin. These, as moms have often felt when they're with their babies, are the bonding hormones. These are related during physical contact, sexual activity. This is what's going on when we bond with someone. They promote feelings of attachment and possessiveness and contribute to the desire for closeness and exclusivity in what people are experiencing as limerence. Two, let's move on. So those are the neurotransmitters and the hormones. What else is happening? Well, brain imaging studies have shown through functional MRIs that when individuals in a state of limerence view images of their LO, that limerent object, there's increased activity in regions associated with motivation and reward expectancy, the caudate nucleus and the VTA. These are the same areas activated in cocaine addicts when they anticipate using the drug. And you've heard that. It's the anticipation, the longing, the wait, the pursuit. That is often the drug, which is interesting, right? And a lot of folks dealing with addiction, or porn addiction, for instance, man, or cocaine or alcohol or gambling, especially. Gambling studies have shown this. It's not winning. It's the anticipation. It's like, oh God, that keeps them coming back. And good songs have been written about this. So 4, what about cognitive effects? The prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational decision making, is actually showing reduced activity when viewing images of the limerent object. And this may explain why people in limerence often make impulsive decisions, have difficulty thinking about, or thinking critically at least, about their limerent object. They're not thinking about this person as a whole person with their faults and all that. They're thinking, no, they're thinking very subjectively, right? Not critically, just with this powerful, overridden emotional response. And then last, this addiction parallel. The neurochemical profile of limerence bears striking similarities to addiction, as I just said a few minutes ago. Both involve that dopamine-driven reward cycle, the craving and the withdrawal symptoms. When you're not with that person, there's a craving for that person, and then when you get near them, there's that reward, and then when you leave, there's a sense of withdrawal. And this is going to help explain why ending a limerent episode, a limerent relationship, it can be so challenging. All right, this calls for a lot of compassion for those who have been in this. It can be so challenging, and why people who engage in like irrational behaviors with this limerent object, these people get irrational because they're just trying to maintain contact with that person, with that object. Because the dopamine, your brain is hardwired to seek the reward. And so anyway, this person has become an addiction, and then there's that the reward cycle of craving and withdrawal and all that at play. So understanding all these biological underpinnings of limerence can be crucial in both clinical settings and in personal understanding, and it's going to help us explain the overwhelming nature of limerent feelings and why they can be so difficult to control through just sheer willpower, through just white knuckling. And this knowledge can help inform therapeutic approaches and help people contextualize their own experiences with a broader scientific framework. But let's look at what people are inevitably wondering about, right? What about love versus limerence? What's the difference between limerence and love? One of the most crucial distinctions we have to make here is that between limerence and love. So while these experiences can coexist, and they do feel really similar, right? Especially in the early stages of a relationship, that honeymoon stage of a relationship, they're fundamentally different. They're just fundamentally different. So let's explore that. One, let's look at the duration and stability. Limerence is typically intense. Like, it's definitely intense. There's no typical tip. It is intense. And it's going to be short-lived. But what does that mean? I mean, what do you think short-lived means? Short-lived is actually going to be like 6 months to 3 years. Now, that 3 years that doesn't sound short-lived. But when we're talking about, sorry y'all, this is tamping the pipe. A little sound effects for you. But yeah, when compared to marriage, they're short. So love, on the other hand, will endure for decades and grows stronger over time. Limerence tends to be volatile with extreme highs and lows, and love is going to be generally more stable and consistent. 2, idealization versus realistic perception. In limerence, there's a strong tendency to idealize the limerent object, and you're going to often ignore or downplay their flaws, whereas love is going to be a much more realistic view of your partner, and you're going to accept both of their strengths and their weaknesses. But so limerence can lead to this pedestal effect. You're going to put that limerent object as perfect or superior, but that actually hinders genuine intimacy, right? No one can stay there. No one lives there. As I like to tell my clients, no one marries the right person. Amen. So, uh, so, so we looked at duration and stability, idealization versus realistic perception. 3, reciprocation and mutuality. Limerence can be entirely one-sided and doesn't require reciprocation to persist. Love, in its healthiest form, is mutual and reciprocal, involving shared feelings and experiences. And the limerent individual often craves reciprocation, but may continue in their feelings even without it, while love typically requires some level of mutual care and respect to thrive. And now focus and motivation. Limerence is often self-focused and centered on one's own feelings, one's own needs, and one's own desires for that limerent object. Love tends to be other-focused, with genuine concern for the partner's well-being and happiness. If you're thinking about that person's family, that person's life, that person's well-being, that person's mind and health and wholeness, that's love, right? Love lays down its life for someone else. Limerence is not. Limerence is all about the self. I want to feel this. I want to. I have needs. I have desires. Limerence. For limerence, the primary motivation is often to secure the limerent object's affection. Like the goal here is to get this other person to have the affection for you, for the limerent. You're trying to get the other person. Well, there's literature in Sexaholics Anonymous. There's a white book in SA, and part of the literature in SA says, what does it say? We lusted and wanted to be lusted after, and that kind of summarizes this limerent, at least in part, what the limerent wants. The primary motivation is often to secure the limerent object's affection, while love motivates actions that benefit the relationship and the partner, right? Love is going to pursue the other one for the other's good. 5, what about the emotional experience? Love, while it can be deeply felt, does not typically dominate one's thoughts. It's not going to dominate your pattern of thinking all day long. But limerence is characterized by these intrusive thoughts, obsessive focus, and intense longing. Limerence is also often going to have some anxiety and some uncertainty and mood swings based on the perceived reciprocation. But love is going to give a sense of security and comfort. What about your identity? Limerence can lead to a temporary loss of self, where the limerent individual's identity becomes wrapped up in their feelings for the limerent object. Love, on the other hand, especially that mature love that's grown, allows for individual growth and maintains a sense of separate identity while within that relationship. Some people refer to that as boundaries. The place where you end and I begin. But in limerence, there's kind of that enmeshment, right? Sexual desire. In limerence, sexual desire is often intensely focused on the limerent object, with little to no interest in others. In love, while there's typically sexual attraction, it's not necessarily exclusive or all-consuming, right? Longevity and evolution, in limerence, by its nature, it is transient. It either fades over time, or in some cases, it evolves into maybe a more stable form of love. But love can deepen and evolve over time, potentially lasting a lifetime. So limerence is transient. Like if one is prone to this, the moment someone else comes along, a new limerent object, the other a previous limerent object will just kind of fade away, will go away, right? But that's not love. Love, love is consistent. Love is going to go deeper, and last a lifetime. And then one more thing: a reaction to obstacles. Limerence often intensifies in the face of obstacles, which can fuel that obsessive nature of the experience. Love, on the other hand, may face challenges pragmatically, with partners working together to overcome obstacles. That's a kind of a lot of things are just like no duh, but need to be said out loud. Understanding these differences, y'all, is crucial. It's both for individuals who are experiencing these intense romantic feelings and for therapists like myself working with clients in relationships. It's important to note that limerence isn't inherently negative. It can be the initial spark that leads to a deep, lasting love. However, that's that honeymoon stage, right? And I think, C.S. Lewis once said that you just can't live there. You can't live in that on the honeymoon. However, mistaking limerence for love can lead to difficulties, especially if you're going to make your life decision based on that state. And so as a therapist, I often work with couples or individuals who are navigating the transition from limerence to a more stable form of love, or who are struggling with limerent feelings outside of their committed relationships. Recognizing the distinction between limerence and love is going to be often the first step in addressing these challenges. So let's look at some the impact on relationships. A few things I want to just point out here. One, new relationships. Limerence can have profound effects on relationships. One, on new relationships, it can create that honeymoon phase, but it's hopefully maybe going to lead somewhere, but it could lead to just disappointment when it fades. Two, existing relationships. It can cause a strain if one partner experiences limerence for someone else, obviously, right? Which could lead to three, this risk of an affair. Limerence can inevitably and exponentially increase the likelihood of infidelity. And four, self-esteem. Folks with just this unrequited limerence can feel a devastating blow to their self-worth. And as a couples counselor, I often can see the aftermath of limerence-induced decisions. It's vital to understand that actions taken during limerence may not allow with your true value or long-term happiness. So how do you cope with it? If you're going through this, how do you cope with, limerence? One, recognize limerence for what it is. It's temporary and it's biochemical. It's a state. Two, practice mindfulness to manage those intrusive thoughts. Challenge those thoughts, right? Put them on trial and gather evidence, all the evidence about those thoughts, and stack the evidence up against them. Three, limit the contact with the limerent object if at all possible. Like, stop. Stop. Just no contact if at all possible. If it's not possible to limit or if it's not possible to not be around that person, man, just do whatever you can to not give any kind of vibe of flirt or romance or unnecessary attention. There's a sense in which, but if I stop talking to this person, then what are they going to think? Because that thing is driving in your brain to maintain this relationship, whether it's requited or not. Don't trust everything you feel. That could be a false alarm. It could be fake news going on in your brain. Don't necessarily need to trust it. Don't need to believe it. So limit the contact there. Then focus on self-care and other relationships. Take good care of yourself. Calm your brain down, whatever it might do, whatever you might need to do. If you are in a marriage, man, throw everything you have into that marriage. And if there's a confession that needs to be made, because I think that we're only as sick as our secrets, and our marriages are only as sick as the secrets we keep from one another. Open up, and that might be really hard and very difficult for the other one to hear, but you're opening up in order to be honest, to be rigorously honest with the partner. And then consider therapy. Go to therapy. Go dig deeper under those underlying issues if they could be there. And and like I said, I just want to reiterate, to be honest with your spouse, with your partner. I mean, the thing for the partner in this situation is they're going to have to really cultivate and bring up some hard to achieve patience and understanding. That's going to be really difficult because they're often going to think this was something you decided to do, and it is in some ways, but at the same time, it's happening to you. It's happening to your brain. So it's often not even a choice, right? It's just this flood of things happening chemically in your brain, and it's temporary. So limerence, y'all, is just a complex and intense experience that can feel all-consuming. And by understanding its nature, we can navigate it more effectively. So whether we're experiencing it ourselves or supporting a loved one through it, just remember that while limerence can feel like the most powerful form of love, true lasting love is built on mutual understanding, respect, and shared experiences. It is, as the Bible says, laying your life down for someone else. Limerence is not laying your life down for someone else. It feels like that, but it's actually, limerence is kind of laying your life down in order to get the other person to do something for you. That's not love. So if you got time in your schedule and you want to go dive deeper into this, let me just give you some resources here. So Love and Limerence, which I mentioned earlier, Love and Limerence, The Experience of Being in Love by Dorothy Tenoff, good one. The Psychology of Romantic Love by Nathaniel Branden, Branden. Attached, The New Science of Adult Attachment and How It Can Help You Find and Keep Love by Levine and Heller. Amir Levine, it might be, Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. The Living with Limerence blog and podcast by Dr. L. And then The Brain in Love by Helen Fisher. I will throw these links and resources in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in to the Tyranny of Hope. If you're struggling with limerence or any other relationship issues, don't hesitate to reach out to a mental health professional. I'm West Breedlove, and until next time, take good care of yourself, be gentle with yourself and with each other.